Hey there, this is Dave Freitag. I am the Wall Street Cowboy coming to you from Las Vegas. This is where I live. I actually have a full-time job as well as being a prop trader, and I work directly across the street from the Bellagio Hotel and the Water Show. So if you're in Las Vegas, come on in to the front store of the CVS store, say hi. I'll be up front. All right, so as they say, let's get to it. This week we're going to talk about setting up our watch list and our list of stocks, and going to take a look at our sector analysis. So sit back, relax. Should take about 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll see if we can't get you a couple of good stocks to look at. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we come up with our watch list. So I go to Finbiz right here. Uh, I have an elite account through Maverick Trading, who I'm a prop trader for. An elite account gives you a few extra bidding that you need. I do have some presets over here that are already created with different types of screens or filters for uh, looking for different types of setups. I use this to set up uh, my sectors and keep track of my sectors. But the first thing I want to do is look at how each of the different sectors that I follow uh, have done over the last week relative to how they've done over the last several weeks. So I've created a spreadsheet, and on here I have all the different sectors as represented by the SPDR ETFs. So I just take those, copy those down. You also notice that I have the SPY in there. That gives me an idea of the relative strength of each one of these sectors against the overall market. So I have included that in as one of the 13. And I copy that, go over to Finviz, drop that in as the ticker symbol. So I paste that in. And then I look at the performance over the last 30 days. So you can see the performance over the last week, over the last month, over the last quarter, half year, full year, and year to date. And you can see the volatility expected for the next week and the next month. I want to sort this by the performance for the last 30 days. Now I'm going to click on there. That's going to sort. It's going to put the worst performing at the top. You hit it again and it puts the best performing at the top. So over the last 30 days, the XLB, or the basic materials sector, has been the best performing over the last 30 days. The worst performer has been the energy. But you also might notice how well energy did for the last week. In fact, if we sort this by the week, you'll notice that energy was the best performing sector over the last week. It was the worst performing sector over the last 30 days. So that tells you that there's an opportunity. The question is, why is energy surging? Are we getting an uptick in energy prices? Is it a seasonal change? Uh, is it just an opportunity to catch something at the bottom and bid it up? Well, last week, how did energy do? Let's go back to our spreadsheet. Energy was the number 5 performing for the week. Over here is our weekly ranking. This is our monthly. It was still the worst performing over the last 30 days, but it was surging. And this week it surged all the way to the top. So that tells you that there was an opportunity in energy last week. And even though the overall market was down, the SPY was down a little less, than a little more than 0.25% for the week. Energy was up, so it outperformed the overall market. What else is surging this week? Well, we have telecom surging. Last week, telecom was the number 6. and it's gone up to number 2. So there's an opportunity in telecom. And who's the number 3? Financials. Now, financials have been in the worst, one of the worst performing sectors. We're starting to see financials starting to surge towards the top. Any sustained rally that we've had over the last 10 years has always included the financials, has always included tech, and has always included health. So those are the 3 areas that you want to watch for a surge to see if we can't get the S&P 500 to start being bullish. Now, what I have done is I've gone into Finviz and I have sorted by all the stocks that are out there and found the best performing and the worst performing stocks. And I'll show you quickly how I do that. Let me go ahead and clear this out, get rid of these tickers that are up here, come back to the screener. Now all my tickers are clear. We have all the different companies that are available in the database of Finviz and in alphabetical order. So now I want to just do some filters. First of all, I don't like any stock that's outside of the United States. So I just exclude anything that's not from the US. I also like them to be optionable. Now, if I was looking for bearish stocks, I would also want to be shortable. But since I'm not looking for necessarily bearish stocks right now, I'm going to leave it just optional. Now, as far as price, you can do this however you like. You may like low price stocks. I personally do not. I like to set a custom range. I don't like stocks that are below $40 a share, personally. Now, there probably are some pretty good opportunities that are in the $20 and $30 range, but I just have decided for my trading, I like something that's trading over 40. You may find something different for you. I also want to exclude something like Tesla and Amazon because I simply can't afford those stocks. They're just too expensive. Booking these stocks move too big for the defined risk that I want to take. So the most expensive that I could imagine is a $500 stock. Then I also want to make sure that I filter out any ETFs. I don't want to look at ETFs. I only want to look at stocks. Next, I want fairly actively traded stocks. So I want the stocks that have an average volume of over 1 million shares. All right, so now I have my list. I'm going to, again, sort it by performance. And I want to look at the last 30 days. It naturally sorts it first from the worst to the best, which can give you some information if you're looking for some bearish stocks. We see Beyond Meat and Planet Fitness, Intel Corporation, and Intel just had earnings. Chewy. There's a couple of GoDaddy here, another one's underperforming over the last 30 days. So what I want to look for first are our best performers. So I'm going to click on that. Now our best performing stocks for the last 30 days is on top. Run is something that I talked about last week. I tried to get into, couldn't get filled on my order, and so I missed that opportunity. NVAX was at the top of the list last week. LVGO was on the list last week. And here we have AMD surging. AMD hasn't been on the list for quite some time. But I like to keep track of the top 20 on this list that have had the best performance over the last 30 days. And next I want to look for, are they having a good week, good month, good quarter, good half a year, good full year, and good year to date. So you can see here that Cincinnati Financial, it hasn't had a really good half a year or performance over the last year or year to date, but it actually is at near the top, and it's been surging. You can see that the chart looks really, really good. It just broke out of a recent high over the last 3 months. So it may be a really good opportunity. But I try and stay away from these stocks. If I can get a stock that like LVGO that's had a good performance weekly, monthly, quarterly, and over the last half year, that to me is a stronger stock than something that has not had a great performance. Now, these are both bank stocks, or no, this is healthcare, HCA Healthcare and bank, but we can look for opportunities here. So let's go back to our spreadsheet because what I've done is I've gone to the bottom, I've exported this to Excel, I've opened that, and I just copied the top 20 right here. Those are the ones that I have, and that's how they got on my list. It was pretty simple to do. So if you look on my list here, let's go back over here. We are in week 30 of 52. Imagine that. All right. So here they are, Run, OSTX, LRN, LVAX, LVGO. These are all the stocks that were on that list. I just copy and pasted them here. Now, this is how I create my watch list and what I call SETT or set. SETT. And what does that stand for? Well, I want to know what my stop is. I also want to know what my entry price is. I want to know what my target price is. And I want to know what my time frame is for this trade. So with, let's say that I was looking at Run. What I do is I take the closing price on Friday. So there's the closing price. You can see it says this is the column for price. The closing price was $40.99. So just to make it easy in Excel, let's just put a formula in there. Equals this, which is the closing price on Friday, and times what is the volatility, the implied volatility for the month? Well, it's 7.72%. So that's what they expect the move to equal at the extreme. So I close that off, and it's a $3.16 move. Now that is my expected move. I should actually take this and put it here. So let's redo that formula. This is my target, 40.99 times the monthly. And just to make it easy for me, I'm going to shorten that up just a little bit. Okay, so I'm expecting a $3.16 move. So that's my target. And I'm going to add in one more formula here. I'm going to say equals the closing price on Friday plus the expected move of $3.16. So my target is $44. Now, what's my stop? Well, let's take a look back at Run. Looks like Run has been just surging. So if there is no support or resistance to look for, maybe I would go to the bottom of that last candle. So let's open this up. And this would be my stop. If it goes below the bottom of this candle, then I want to make sure that I get out of the stock. So let's see, that's probably right around, let's see, the open, high, low is 38.74. So if it drops to 38.50, then I want to be out of that position. So 38.50. And what's my entry? My entry is if we get above this 40.99. Actually, I want to get above the high of this day. So let's take a look at that one more time. What was the high of this day? Was $42. So if we hit 42.05, I want to be in that stock. So that's my entry. And what's my time frame is 1 month. So that's how I set up my watch list. Now I'm going to go through these and I'm going to look for some things that stand out to me. For example, let's take a look at AMD. It's been up 32% for the last month, but 26% in the last week, and only 23% for the last quarter, which tells me that AMD probably came out with earnings and they had a jump based on earnings. And unless I'm playing the earnings, that doesn't mean a lot to me. I am much more interested in a stock like, well, here's one, CLGX. It was up a very steady 0.5% for the week. It's up 30% for the last month, 87% for the last quarter. You see a pattern here. This is a stock that should be trending higher. So let's take a look at this on Fitbiz. CLGX, and that looks like it had a jump. Coral Logic looks like it had a jump, and that was probably on earnings also. But that is what I want to look for. Is I want to discriminate or disqualify stocks out that aren't meeting my criteria. Here's ENPH, had a bad week, but has been trending higher since the low in about mid-June. So I go through this list. Run looks good. OSTX looks very, very good. Been up for the week, the month, the quarter, and the half year. So OSTK would be a really, really good stock also. So we're going to go through the same process that we did with Run. Now, what I do is I put that same formula we talked about over here, I put right there already. So I put in what is the closing price times the expected move or the implied volatility for the next month. And I do that for all the stocks. And then I go into the next column and I just add the two together. What was the closing price plus the expected move? And that becomes my target. My stop is based on other analysis, such as where was the last support. And also, I might even look at VWAP or some other uh, type of support, maybe pivots, something that will give me a support, a Fibonacci. My target is always this. My entry is based on what would make me say, all right, the stock is continuing to go higher. Is that a breakout above yesterday's high? Is that a breakout above last week's high? Is there a support or resistance, a trend line? Is there something that tells me that we should be breaking out and going higher? So that's a matter of analysis. You'll have to do that on your own, find what you like. And, maybe you like AMD with this 26%. It's just not what I look for. Take a look at AMD, and you can see that it just surged up on Friday. But prior to that, it was pretty pedestrian going sideways between, say, 58 and 52 for several months. But, so I look for something like this that's trending higher and continues to trend higher. It looks like it's setting up a high base, It took off to the upside, couldn't be pushed down, and is going sideways until it can get some momentum to the upside. LVGO is a good stock. That's been trending higher. We can look at the moving averages on that. The moving averages are all trending higher. So again, uh, you might have said, well, LVGO has reached its high. I mean, look how much higher it is here than it was back here. I'm not going to take that position. Well, look at the move that you would have missed if you'd have had that. You could have said the same thing here. Oh, it's just this thing can't go any higher. It's just consolidating. It's got to come back to zero. Well, all it really did is move closer to its moving average and then took off. Move closer to its moving average and then took off. So we could be seeing the same thing here. The point is that LVGO has had strong performance over the last several uh, time frames, and there's unless there's a reason to believe otherwise, some fundamental has changed. The earnings has come out, forward-looking statements from the company have come out, something that would indicate that this stock is headed lower. Uh, then the assumption is that this is consolidation before the next move higher. This is consolidation before the next move higher. And we would want to take a position when it breaks out above a particular level. In this particular case, probably one of these candles in here, I would want to take a position. So at 109, and let's see if I can get an idea of where that is. Well, let's take a position if it's above 109.40. So if it hits 109.50, and I'm getting that from right here, that was the high on Friday. If it gets to 109.50, then I want to take a position in this for the next move higher. So we'll go with LVGO, 109.50. Okay, so what's my target? My target is if it gets to 118. What's my time frame? I'm still at 1 month. I might change that for a certain situation. Maybe there's earnings or something that would indicate that I want to be in it for a shorter or a longer period of time, maybe a seasonal situation. And what's my stop? Well, let's take a look at LVGO. Looks like 100 has been some support. If it breaks below 100, then I want to go ahead and stop out and wait for another opportunity for it to try to break out above here. So, and again, you can use different criteria. Uh, for example, you could look at what is VWAP, what is your Fibonacci. There are a number of different things, and we'll go over those as time goes by. So format that to be a number. That should be 100. All right. So these are my levels. And now I can go ahead and put in a trade. Perhaps I would like to look at a vertical where I would expect it to get up to 118. So that would be my long, or pardon me, my short. That would be my short call. And this would be my long call. And this is my entry. So I could put in a vertical here that had an expiration of, say, August. And I think it's the 20th or 21st. So that would give me about 30 days, be a bull call vertical. And I could set up that trade and put some analysis on it in a risk profile and see if I like that, or maybe I just want to buy long calls on it and hedge it with shares of stock, whatever your criteria is. So that's how I set up my watch list and the different stocks that I want to look at. I always like to look at this volatility. If this volatility is, say, 2.44% for APD, that really isn't that big of a move. Uh, Same thing here with CLGX. The volatility is 2%. How much is 2% of $68? Well, that's probably about $1.50. Right? Well, here it is, $50.55. That isn't a big enough move for me to be interested in, but this is a $15 move. I can make some money on QDEL. So that's how I determine which stocks from my watch list that I want to drill down on. So let me go ahead and take all this out. And we're going to look at our worst performing stocks. Now, I did the exact same thing, just on the opposite. These are the worst performing stocks over the last 30 days that are between $40 and $500, that have a million shares, average volume, that are U.S. stocks. The same filtration. It's just that these are the worst performing. So Beyond Meat, Planet Fitness, Intel Corporation, GoDaddy, these are all opportunities. And again, if this has gone down 20%, but it's only down 16% for the last month, that's most of that is all in 1 week. I That's not something I want to look at. This one doesn't even have any information over the last year. So it's a fairly new stock. I'm going to eliminate that from my list. So I'm going to drill this down. I'm going to go through the same process. What is my potential gain? Here's one that could move $6. Here's one that could move $6. Here's one that could move $5. Something that will only move $1.91 or $1.29. Those aren't real interesting to me. So that is our list. This week I am looking at Beyond Meat, Planet Fitness, RPRX, and just this is the list. So you can go through your analysis and see what works for you. I'll spend some time maybe next week going through each individual chart, but I want to go through this a couple times to make sure you know how to create this list for yourself. All right, thank you. Again, this is Dave Freitag, your Wall Street Cowboy. Thank you very much for stopping by. Again, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and we'll spend more time in a future video on how to set up a more detailed watch list, how to drill down into individual securities, and how to use the watch list that we have to find opportunities for this week. So for right now, I got to start working on my report card and get ready for the open tomorrow. You have a great night, and remember, good trades.